Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Rose.
I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 4. This is an episode where we learn a good bit more about a lot of these characters. We see a little bit of a foundation for a plan regarding Jezebel. We also have the introduction of Timothy Simons, who a lot of you know as Jonah Ryan from Veep, and his character appears to be Commander Jonah Ryan from Veep because he's still a terrible human being. But there's a lot of different stuff that is, of course, going on here.
Yeah, including a Serena romance. I think a lot of us saw this kind of coming. We
Yeah.
saw Wharton trying to give these flowery words and flirting with her a little bit. Now they're dancing in the street. It feels to me like a power move. We have a video up here already, a theory all about Wharton and what his plan
Yeah.
is. And in that video, we talked a little bit about this idea that Serena is the person who is behind a lot of what is happening here at Gilead. So to have her as his wife is a really big power move. So is he really interested, or is he interested in the optics of it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really interesting questions here. One of them is everything you just lined out about Wharton. And then the other question here is that does Serena see through any of this on some level? And what is Serena really looking to gain from everything? Is it as simple as stability and power and having somebody at her side who she will know will quote unquote protect her? Or is there something a little bit more? Because I think this is the thing about Serena Joy at this point in The Handmaid's Tale is that we all want to believe that she's learned something. It's sort of like she has gone through this educational program to show us the error of her ways. But the problem here is that we all have to have our hard hats on because this is Serena, and she is someone who is a little bit like the Joker in The Handmaid's Tale, where you never really know what she's going to do.
Yeah, I feel like she's always going to do the wrong thing. Even when she's doing some things that are the right thing, there's always an underlaying of like the wrong thing, that it's really about something that she wants for herself. We've only seen really a handful of times that she's actually doing something that's not selfish. Like even coming back here to New Bethlehem, it's for herself. It's to feel like she's in control, that her vision is being seen the way that she wants it to be. Like it's not really about coming back there and making a difference. It's coming back there and things are her way.
I think the ultimate comparison I can kind of come up with is that she's this person where even if what she's doing is front facing and virtuous, you still don't trust it. It's like June on the train being like, no, I don't want you to hold Nicole. Why would I ever want you to hold Nicole? It's like she, and if she's off somewhere preparing for a birthday party, she's just gonna be like, oh, I'll make cookies. But then you're gonna sit back and be like, oh, are you going to poison the cookies? Like, what are you going? You never trust anything she's going to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me as well that Serena trusts anything that Wharton is saying. She's only really kind of met him at an event like once before. Like
Yeah.
they don't have any real relationship. And so for her to be actually brought back in this way after everything she's seen, her becoming basically a handmaid in Canada, having to run for her life, to just come back and everything is going to be different because this man says so. It's very disheartening to watch.
It's disheartening and suspect. We'll get into some of the tinfoil hat theories that are out there that, of course, we've seen. But before we move forward here, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we're going to be here with multiple Handmaid's Tale videos throughout the week, including previews, theories, all sorts of great stuff there. We are also now officially in the midst of covering The Last of Us. And if you guys did not know, Black Mirror premiered last week. We have reviews of every single Black Mirror episode up at the channel. It was a really, really good season.
We just also want to give a warning to everybody that we have not read the Handmaid's Tale books. We have not read the Testaments. And we are trying to stay spoiler free here. We are only watching what's on the show. Things have already changed. We've heard from the books already. already. So, we're just trying to have a bit of fun here. So please don't leave spoilers in the comments. If you've read the books or you've read the Testament, you know what's coming up. There's lots of people here also that haven't read the book.
Yeah.
So, just keep it spoiler free for us, and, let's have a fun time here.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate that. And we also appreciate everyone who has joined our Patreon. That
Mm.
link is in the description. We are in the midst right now of covering exclusively in video form their Bosch Legacy, which is winding up, and its finale is really right around the corner.
Yeah, and we're going to be covering Criminal Minds Evolution. That's going to be coming up very soon. And Murderbot, which is going to be airing over on Apple TV, that people are very
Yes.
excited about. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined our Patreon.
No, thank you guys. We really, really appreciate that. And okay, Wharton, let's just start by giving you a keen, angry stare. Mostly just because of this stuff that you're saying to Serena in this episode. It is the ultimate eye roll, dude, bro, pickup line nonsense. This idea of, I was too afraid to approach you way back when, but I saw you. Well, you are the most handsome person alive, Josh Charles. I do not believe for a single second that you are over here in insecure corner where you are a high commander and you are too nervous to go and spend time with Serena, even if Fred is around or even if X, Y, or Z. Just shut up.
That's the line. The line for me that really got me was when she brought him over some pie,
Yeah.
and he made a comment about her pie. I was just like, that's a little bit dirty for this show, but okay.
Yeah, this guy's a tool bag. Like, this guy is so transparently a tool bag that there's a reason why I know that there's some commentary out there that Serena's going to know what Wharton is doing and that Wharton is trying to do whatever he can to bring her in, and that she's going to use him and she's going to use him to help facilitate the end of Gilead. And to everyone out there, I see you. I appreciate you. I like your optimism. I just don't know if I can get there yet. Like, I do think that Serena knows that Wharton is probably using her for some sort of ploy, that it helps his power if she's around. Like, I think she's fully aware of that, but I'm not ready to make the leap yet that she is going to actually do something good with this.
They haven't shown me enough yet that she has turned a corner on any of this. She was lured back with this, you can make a change because we can make this the Gilead that you always envisioned, that you wanted this to be. This feels very much like a feeding into her ego that she has a chance to get her vision out there, that it's a lot less about helping people, but it's more about seeing her vision come together, and that will just automatically help other people. And if Wharton is the way to make that happen, no problem. It feels like if she's going to make a change down the road where she's kind of like, uh-oh, this is a problem, it doesn't feel like that's happening right now. It doesn't feel like she's gone back because she's targeting Wharton, who she had never really spoken to before. She didn't really know him to know that this was a problem. It feels like she's going to have had something happen along the way, and then she hits the curve and is like, okay, now I'm going to start to use this to undo things. But right now, it doesn't seem like there's a reason to do any of that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing here. I'm not a big believer in the Serena redemption story because
No.
I think redemption is too strong a word. Like, do I think that she can still do the right thing at times? I think she's capable of it, but I think it's going to take a team effort ultimately here, because the thing that matters the most to Serena is her own perception of faith. And we have already seen there's a pretty interesting delineation on the show already between what her faith is and what, Gilead wants to do sometimes in some of their awful ways. And I think if you are the rebellion at this point, you have to sort of find a way to bridge the gap between what your end goals are and what Serena believes, and make her believe that this is the best way for her faith to come to light, as opposed to doing anything that Gilead is doing. Like, she's going to have to figure out some hard truths herself. They're going to have to find a way to better appeal to her. It's a complicated arrangement, and I think it's possible, but I also don't think that Serena's gonna end this show as some shining hero with a suit of armor.
And I don't want to see that. I mean, she's more complicated than that. And I mean, for me, I'm not interested in the Serena redemption arc.
Yeah,
Like you said, I think she can do good things. Bad people can still do good things, but
yeah,
to me, she's still inherently a bad person who has done some tremendously unforgivable things. And it's not for me to forgive, it's for June to forgive. And
yeah.
that's fine that June is able to move on, but not me. I said this in the premiere. I was Team Mob on that train. I'm still Team Mob. I just don't want to see Serena get this happy ending, which obviously I don't think that that's where this is going with
Yeah.
Wharton anyways, but I don't want to see her where she's got her vision out there. She's married to this wonderful, handsome man who's like, oh, Fred should have listened to you. I'm like, oh, stop it. You're a high commander. You're not in that position because you're listening to the women of Gilead. None of that is real. And I don't want to see her have a happy ending. The things that she put June through and other people through, she doesn't deserve it. I don't want to see it. I love a good revenge tale. I need to see her get hers.
To me, the best case scenario when it comes to, I guess, Serena's soul is that Serena does something to sacrifice herself for the greater good. And it's like, okay, that can be as close to redemption as you get. And that's even a
Yeah.
stretch as to whether or not that's really going to happen.
Yeah.
But okay, so while Serena is playing footsie, I guess, with High Commander
Oh
Wharton
no.
at this point, and whatever their end game is, June has a plan, and Luke has a plan. And okay, this
And
story,
Moira has a plan. Everybody has a plan.
everybody has a plan. And that's why I struggled a little bit with the story this time around with these characters, but it's mostly just because of the fact that I never believed for a split second that any of these people were going to be like, okay, Alaska, all right, we've done it. You know, we've done our job. We're just gonna leave Hannah here and we're gonna go. It's no, that's never been the MO of the show, and we've rinsed and repeated this so many times that I
I
was just
know.
kind of sitting back and being like, okay, June, Luke, just have the conversation with each other. Neither one of you are leaving. You might as well just find a way to work this out.
Yeah, this felt like this was wasting my time a bit because I think we all know Luke is this has been established for a little while now. He has had tons and tons of regret
Yeah,
not doing enough or thinking he didn't do enough in a situation that was impossible for him. But now that he feels that he can do more, under no circumstances was he just going to be like, okay, let's just go back to Alaska. I'm just going to leave my daughter again. He,
yeah,
couldn't really live with the idea that he felt he didn't do enough in the first place. And now he's willing to sacrifice it all, anything,
yeah.
including himself, that if something happens to him, at least he knows he died trying. He is not willing to go back. But the important conversation that really needed to happen was with the three of them, where June kind of found out they were going to Jezebel's and that Moira was going to lead it, and she just didn't believe in Moira. Then Moira was going to break down while she was there. And that conversation needed to happen where she was just like, you don't get to tell me how I'm going to react, how I'm going to be, that I'm not strong enough to do this. Like, I see you looking at me this way. And now I see it clearly for what it is. You don't believe in me, but I believe in me. So get to stepping. It doesn't matter what you think. And, you know, I know that it sucks to watch these two have that break, but that break needed to happen because June thinks that she is the only person that can be the hero and that Moira and Luke can't because they haven't been as involved. Moira's been out of there a little bit, longer than her, so she has more knowledge, but Moira's the person who's like, "Oh, I work there. Like I know that place like the back of my hand. I can do this."
This is, I don't want to say the problem with June as a character because it makes June more interesting in a way, and it's good for characters to have flaws, but this is the part of
Yes.
June that she never recognizes about herself, is that her elevated self-belief is good in some situations, but
Yes.
it's bad in the situation where you believe so much in yourself that you don't believe in anyone else. And it doesn't matter whether or not you think that you need to be the hero all the time because you're trying to quote unquote protect other people, because I don't really think that's fully the case with June. I think June really feels like she is, like you're saying, the only person who can do a lot of this, and it's good that she's countered on some of this. Let other people have their moment. And I said in the last review, I am Team Luke. Like, I love Luke. I love OT's performance. And I think that he really spelled it out in a big way. He has carried with him immense guilt and shame. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if he was able to help or not or what the circumstances were. The fact that he couldn't do enough, this he feels it in his soul. This is his time.
Yeah, when Moira looked at June and said, "You think so little of us," that really broke me
Yeah.
because she does in that way. She just doesn't think that they can do it, that they have it in them to be able to fight the way that June did. And that is June's character flaw. And I'm glad that it's there
Yeah.
because, like you said, it makes her more interesting, more human. She's not superhuman. She just, yeah, she thinks very highly of herself. And because of that, she thinks very little of other people when that's not the case. She can share being a hero with other people. And I think it also brought to this really important conversation with Luke where we know that June and Luke really love each other. In, the last episode, June had said something to Nick that really stuck with me where she was kind of like, he was like, "Oh, you chose Luke." And her reaction wasn't, "Yeah, I love him so much. I love him the most. That's why I'm with him." It was, "Well, he waited for me." And not just, "I love him." He waited for me, so I feel like I kind of have to stay there, but also I love him. So I think it was important for this conversation where they acknowledge that losing Hannah broke them and broke them as a couple, and that it didn't take their love away and it didn't change how much they care about each other and love each other and that they're family, but it broke them fundamentally to a point that they have still not been able to bring themselves back together because Hannah is not part of it. But hearing Luke say, "Yeah, we may be a broken family, but there's still hope for our broken family," really filled my heart.
It was heart-wrenching and emotional, and I think they both do have this belief on some level that's like, okay, if we get Hannah back, we might be able to restore a little bit of what we had. And we can all sort of get back and sort of think, is that false hope? Is that, being too optimistic because you don't know what Hannah's going to be like? We've already gotten a glimpse of what's happened to Hannah already within this world. So there are all these sort of mitigating complicated factors, but I understand this idea of Luke, somebody who so desperately wants to make this relationship work, and him sitting back and believing that, okay, this can really be the thing. It's bringing Hannah back as a way to save Hannah, obviously, but it may be a way to save all of us. If that's the driving force for him, like, who am I to say that that's good or bad?
Yeah, and here's the other thing. It doesn't necessarily, what I got from this conversation doesn't necessarily have to be Hannah has to be back for us to not be a broken family. It also feels like Luke was saying, if we work together to fight to get Hannah back, that can help mend us as well. We are together, a team fighting for a daughter to get her back. That will help mend us together because we are working together to the same goal instead of you being out there working to get her and me sitting by myself at home, twiddling my thumbs, doing nothing and feeling like I'm doing nothing.
Here's my larger concern with this plan right now. We're at the end of episode 4. There's a lot left to go this season, and that tells me either one of two things are going to happen here. One, maybe they are actually successful, and maybe Janine finds a way to get out of Jezebel's, and like there's actually some sort of happy reunion, but this is just a drop in the bucket when it comes to taking out Gilead, and there's a lot more to come. Or option 2, this goes really, really terribly, which I think there is a good chance of because of where we are in the season. And then everybody has to regroup, think bigger, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, and it also feels like the group is a little bit kind of split on things where some of the people like June and Moira who have been at Jezebel's know that there are innocent people there. There are women there that should be gotten out of this situation before they're just going to go there and do what they're going to do. But then you have people who have never really been part of it that are just part of Mayday kind of being like, yeah, if there's casualties, it just kind of has to happen for the bigger plan kind of thing where you've got the people that are going in that care about the women that are actually there. That's not just about, oh, we're in this time that, oh, well, if something happens there, at least we got the commanders.
it's the ultimate moral dilemma that this has gone thousands of years of history. The
Right.
Handmaid's Tale is not necessarily broaching new ground, but the way they're approaching it, I think, is really interesting. Where Mayday, they're obviously the good people. They're trying to stop this horrible, horrible regime from doing the most unspeakably bad things. But then that question still becomes, are we still the heroes if innocent lives are lost?
Right.
And that's not something that you can answer altogether easily. I believe because of the people that are involved, they're going to do everything they can to ensure that innocent lives aren't lost. But there's still, anytime you do something like this, there's going to be a chance.
All right, let's take a look here at Lawrence and Naomi, their relationship. It's not really anything. It was really sad in a lot of ways seeing Naomi try to have a relationship with Lawrence, where she's kind of like, well, I had to marry him. I have married him. Is there any way to just make this relationship something so that there's some sort of joy between us? Lawrence is like, no, there isn't any virility. No, there's no joy between us. None of this is happening. You just do what you would like to do, and I will continue doing what I would like to do. And that seems to be, he's got a promotion, and now he's a high commander. And what happens with that? You got to go to Jezebel. It's all kind of like bringing everything together. We know that there's a plan that's coming into Jezebel's. We know that Lawrence is at Jezebel's. We know that Janine is also at Jezebel's.
Janine, you have my full permission to unleash bodily harm on Commander Jonah Ryan, and that guy's terrible. You need to do
Oh, that
something
was terrible.
about that. But I really do appreciate the idea. It's like, okay, we have spent so much time on The Handmaid's Tale with characters in a bunch of different places. The idea that we're moving into a spot where almost everyone important is going to be in a relatively close proximity, like that is exciting. Like that does make me feel like we're going to see some fireworks, but also probably something that's going to make me very upset, because I believe there will be some characters who find a little bit of happiness, but not everybody is going to. That's not the show we're watching.
I think for me, it's really tough because while, of course, I root for June and
Yeah.
Luke and I want all that to go well and Moira and all that, I really root for Janine. She has been
Yes.
through the most. She has still not been able to really get out of what is going on here. And now she's at Jezebel's being humiliated in a new way. And it's just, she just can't catch a break. Like, even before, we've gotten her backstory long ago, even before this was going on, she can't catch a break. Now she's involved in this, she can't catch a break. Like, it's just her whole life is meant to be pain and misery until the very end. Like, if there is one character that can get a happy ending, this is the character for me, which means I'm probably going to have my heart broken.
I am already terrified about it. 'Cause, yeah, Janine's one of my favorite characters too, and I root for her more than I root for almost anyone. And it just feels like she never has that many people in her corner. The closest she's had recently is freaking Aunt Lydia, who
Yep.
is walking around trying to put, her hands over her ears, her hands over her eyes, trying to be like, oh, it's not going to be this way. And it's totally that way, Aunt Lydia. You just don't want to acknowledge it, and you're going to have to.
Tinfoil hat, I
Yeah.
am worried about Janine, and part of it is because of the scene with her and Lawrence, where Lawrence got this hand-drawn picture from Angela. He brings it with him. Then he's here at Jezebel's. He sees Janine. He takes her to the room for a fun time, but really they're just sitting there talking.
Yeah.
The minute that he was like, oh, your daughter made this, and here, take a look, sort of thing, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem good. It feels like she's getting that little bit of hope right before it all really goes sideways. And we know that obviously Mayday is going to be coming into Jezebel's, but I'm like, is this the happy ending for her, that she gets this one moment with
Yeah.
a hand-drawn picture before poof?
I'm worried. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not worried. I think something very bad could happen for Janine. But if that happens, everybody else that we like better get a happy ending, because it's just like, you can't do that to Janine and then nobody is happy. That's just too rough. But
Yeah.
okay, it's time to have a larger rant about Commander Lawrence here for a moment, because Bradley Whitford, you are great. This has nothing to do with your performance. Commander Lawrence, I am so irritated by you. I've been irritated by you for a better part of I don't know how many years
I
at this point.
know.
What is your agenda? What are you
I
actually
know.
trying to do? Because this is what it feels like with your whole I'm making Gilead better. I'm making New Bethlehem. And I think there is a part of him that feels like, okay, I can't really fully turn this around anymore, but I can at least make something that is better and try to coax people into adopting this way of life. And then maybe that will kind of slow down the bad way of life elsewhere. You are basically making a sandcastle, and this is going to be gross. I'm telling you all this now. You're making a sandcastle out of dog poop, and you're basically coating it with like a gold leaf, and you're like, look how fancy this is. And it's like it's still gold leaf dog poop. It's still poop. It's not actually good, but you're trying to convince people you can't have it both ways. He has continuously tried to self-preservation. I was about to say self-preservate, but that's not a word. He's just trying to protect himself through this lens of I'm making Gilead better. And it's like, sure, you're making the worst thing known to mankind marginally better, but you don't deserve a round of applause for that. It's not enough.
No, he's somebody who's not strong enough or feels like he has enough power to actually make real change. Like even when he was still married, not to Naomi, but to the woman he really loved,
Yeah.
he as a commander couldn't even stop him having to participate in the Handmaid's Tale monthly, we'll call it tradition, the ceremony. That even him as a commander had other commanders show up there and be like, no, this is happening now. We're forcing you to do this to June. Where his wife is like, you promised. Like,
Yeah.
you're a commander. Like, how is this even happening that you, a commander, you, a man, are being forced into this situation now? And I think that was really the big turning point for him, where he's kind of like, okay, I need to get more power so that I can make sure that these types of situations at least don't happen to me anymore, where I'm able to kind of make some changes. It's just, I think he really looks at Gilead and he's kind of like, there's no way one person can actually make a difference. June's on the other hand being like, I'm a one woman wrecking ball. I
Yeah.
can make a difference. I think for him, even in the power position he's in, he's kind of like, me as a commander, I can't even make a difference. I'm being forced into things that I don't want to do, and I'm a man in this world, so I can only do what I can do to protect myself and the people around me, and that's all I can get my hands on.
There's a weird sort of lost-like analogy here of man of science versus woman of faith, and there's a real irony because I think Commander Lawrence is using his own version of science here, where he doesn't have a lot of faith, which is ironic given the religious nature of this community, and he's just sort of like, I'm gonna do the best I can with the resources that I have, and he's convinced himself that's like, okay, this is the way forward. And June, on the other hand, despite being, somebody who's been deeply affected by this, actually has faith. It's just faith in something a little bit different
Yeah.
than a lot of these other people. And that's still a driving force. And I want to have faith. And I think that there's a reason why we as viewers are always going to side with June, I think, from that vantage point. And I think that Commander Lawrence, unlike Serena, like I really do think Lawrence is capable of doing some very virtuous things. But I think the problem is that he is so self-involved that it's going to take the safest environment possible for him to be able to do it, where there is no backlash and there is no harm that's going to come from him doing them.
He is too afraid.
Yeah.
And I think he's afraid because this society will kill him.
Yeah.
He'll kill anybody. So I think for him, he's kind of like, okay, is this move worth my life? No. So what can I do to still kind of get some of this move where I'm still living? And, I think that that's something that probably a lot of people can relate to, more so than June, who's willing to die for anything and everything, right? Like
Yeah.
this stranger over here, all the way to her daughter, where most people, it would be more of a sort of pick and choose. Okay, yeah, I'm willing to die over here to get my kid back, but Bob over here, I don't know that I'm willing to give up my life for that. And I think that this, Lawrence is in that spot where he's kind of like, I'm willing to do some stuff, but I'm not willing to die for it.
Yeah, and it makes him interesting enough as a character, but it also makes him incredibly frustrating as a character because I'm just like, be willing to die for something, Lawrence. If you don't stand for anything, you stand for nothing.
Yeah, I think that Lawrence is one of the most interesting, fascinating characters on this show because you never really know which way the wind is going to blow
Yeah.
and what he's going to decide to do. If he's going to be on the side of Gilead or he's going to do something a little more rebellious. You just truly don't know because it depends on what is happening in his life. He is a completely situational man.
It's just the funny irony in all of this is that I know Bradley as an actor would be the total opposite of Lawrence in real life. He would be going and doing all this action, and he has to play this character who is just so cowardly all the time. But I do think that big picture, this is a better episode to me than the first three, mostly because it felt like the first three were kind of circling the wagons a lot and getting these characters back to New Bethlehem. And yeah, there was a little bit of wagon circling with June and Luke and Moira, but I think we're actually set up for something in episode 5 that could be really, really epic and scary and interesting.
Yeah, we needed to get all the characters back together. Even Rita's back in New Bethlehem. She's been pulled back in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, your sister's here. It could be different. She's asking Nick, is it going to be different? He's like, I hope so. I don't know. I hope so. I think so. But having actually like everybody kind of back in one spot, it feels like that's what's going to be coming up, and that's fascinating.
All right, well, we will have so much more on The Handmaid's Tale throughout the week. We have previews, theories, all sorts of good stuff. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys do not miss that, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. As Jess said earlier, we are covering not just Bosch Legacy, but coming up, we have Murderbot, the show with the greatest title of all time, and then also
I can't believe how excited people are for this show. I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, before I even knew what Murderbot was, I just saw the word Murderbot, and I was like, okay, I'm in.
It's such a good title.
We also have Criminal Minds Evolution, which we love covering. So thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon, and we see you here next time.